And we're live! Sorry about that, guys. This is Dragonheart. Today I am joined by Bill Long, myself, Chay Long, and Disney's Mark Griffiths. Two exhilarating games we're going to cover today in Borehamwood and Halifax. We've got some other Wrexham stuff to talk about too. But first, how are you both?
Fighting a microphone, apparently.
I fought a mic and the mic won. Well, that's what Frank Bruno said after Tyson had him. Well, to be honest with you, I'm great because today I'm excited to announce I'm going to attempt to set a world record during the broadcast. So I am going to become the first person ever, and I don't know if anyone's done it before, but I don't care because it's post-truth now. I'm just confident. I'm going to be the first person ever to carve a pumpkin live on a radio show, because let's be honest, radio is a visual medium. and to carve a pumpkin, not just carve one, but carve one in to capture the face of the member of the National League board who wouldn't let us stream and give all the money to the rest of the National League. So I have my pumpkin. If you are watching the video, it's not live, but nonetheless it will come out. Pumpkin, and I will create. As the show goes on, I might listen to the conversation, I might not, but I will carve a National League board member's effigy as we go.
This man's not only wants to be Disney's Mark Griffiths, he wants to be the Guinness Book of World Records Mark Griffiths as well. So, and
I'm hoping also to do that whole, Peanuts, Charlie Brown thing with the pumpkins. Maybe I could get to do that.
And it is Halloween weekend. What are you dressing up as, guys?
The scariest thing of all, Alex Hamilton.
I was going to go yesterday's referee.
Well, yesterday's referee was
equally scary.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm going to go as Richard Hope. It's what Satan would have wanted.
Wow. On that note, let's get on with the show. This is Dragonheart.
This happens every time. Here we go.
I'm Nick Young, and this is Dragonheart.
Sorry, I didn't turn the mics down there. Without Aaron, we're having a nightmare.
Yeah, we're lacking our producers today. But, right, Borehamwood. I always keep on wanting to say Bromley. Borehamwood. Bill, that was a fun game, wasn't it, in many ways, and also infuriating, and also promising, and it had everything in it. It was a really top-of-the-table clash.
Yeah, I think that first half was a difficult one for us, and the second half wasn't so difficult, which seems to be a recurring theme for us, really, doesn't it? I think there's two matches in a row where we've not been helped by the referee, but I suppose we will get onto that.
Yeah.
We were kind of unlucky, really, weren't we?
Yeah.
I think overall, I think that my overriding feeling is that we were a little bit unlucky.
Well, there's a narrative, Mark, of this season of Wrexham's away performances not matching the home performances. Would you say that was right for this game? I don't think so. I thought that was a really good performance.
I would say it's probably a fair comment overall.
Yeah.
There are reasons for it that we might consider. As, for those of you who are listening, rather than watching the video, I have now removed to the top of the skull and my brain surgery can begin. Honks, fair play. The fact of the matter is that this was a very good performance, I think. We started really well. I strongly feel when you get these games... I'll put it in the right order. Bromley established themselves as a Route 1 long ball team in our division. It came up, 7 years ago. And as time's gone on, they've gone from aiming to survive to aiming to go up. And their style of football has definitely morphed into something different where they can still go long, they're still big and physical, but they can mix her up. Well, I don't know, because I've not had the chance to see them this season, apart from that game, whether this was just the way this game went or not. But they were long ball. They were back to the old Borehamwood. It was long ball. And then, of course, when you get a game like that, it's all about they're going to try and batter you and play the game the way they want. We have got to try and impose ourselves. They'll be breaking the game up, as Phil Parkin said all the time, little fouls, things like that, lots of restarts, we can't get our rhythm going. And I thought in the first half we did pretty well doing that until the goal.
Yeah.
And then actually we didn't react to that goal. The rest of the half was our rough period. I thought the second half we were outstanding. We did impose ourselves on them, and they were incredibly fortunate to get a point out of the game. I thought we were superb second half, really impressed.
And that's why getting the point away from home against Borehamwood, Bill, you know, I don't know whether you guys agree, but I think a long ball team at this level, with the quality they have, can be more dangerous than the teams that play nice football and pretty football, because all they need is that one opportunity, lump it over the top to the striker, and then they have a goal.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, just the sound of pumpkin seeds hitting the bottom of the...
I am thrilled by how disruptive I am. I'm like a naughty child in the back of the class.
But Bill, I think we're going to be looking back at the end of the season at this being a really positive point. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to do well this season. They've just got that makeup in them, and I think they were undone last year by a cup run. I don't necessarily subscribe to the whole cup runs kill seasons off, but I think for theirs they had such a run that they.
Well, I think we killed them off last season.
We did, yeah.
But
we played them after they played out their skins at Everton, but lost.
Yeah.
Then came to us, and that was a mad game. It was 4-2 in the end.
The atmosphere was
the first one was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the second one was 3-0, wasn't it?
Yeah. So to do that to them in 2 games in quite quick succession after a cup run, where they did really well to beat Everton, but they're professional sportsmen. They would have sensed an opportunity to win against a Premier League team there, so they would have been a little bit deflated after that, and then their season was a little bit curtailed. But that might not happen this year, and I think they'll be right up there. Good side, good manager, good players. They've got a good scouting network, because they lose players quite regularly. You know, like Jacob Mendy, who's come to us, but they're still able to replace those players with decent talent. And yeah, I think when you compare that to the Chesterfield and Notts County result, they might not be quite up there with us 3 or whoever the sort of makeup is. But that's most of our hard away games done. Yeah. There's not many left.
Yeah. Bromley, Solihull, and apart from that, what is there to fear? I'm not disrespecting those other teams, but beyond that 5, who else is actually going to be an away game that we go to and think, "Ooh, this is"? I'll be happy with the point. None of them, I don't think. Really,
I think that's a fair point to make, and I think also, to add to that, just because you don't fear teams doesn't mean you can't get unstuck against them.
Yeah.
It's just that level of thinking. Right, well, we're all right. Go into this place, we'll get a point here.
A lot of waypoints last season, like Torquay and things like that. We lost to sides who weren't as good as us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm not assuming we'll get the results, but I'm saying that, Borehamwood, that's a good point.
Yeah.
If we get 1 point away to some of the other teams we'll be coming to later in the season, it won't be a good point. It'll be a point dropped probably.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's talk about individual performances, Mark. The one I think everyone was talking about was Paul Mullin, really. I think he was everywhere that game. He was really showing his class.
Second half, he was just superb. He did well first half.
Yeah.
He had a major handicap to overcome, which was the referee. We've been lucky enough to have the 2, I think by a distance, worst refereeing performances of the season in 4 days. And I'm not saying that lightly. A lot of listeners to the commentaries feel I'm harsh on the referees. I really don't want to be. And I think they've been good this season. On the whole, the refereeing's been probably as good as you've seen since we dropped down to the National League. I remember feeling there was a big drop-off in the quality of officiating when we dropped down. I think they've been good this season. But the guy on Saturday was poor, and the one yesterday, as we'll get to, was worse. Mullin and Palmer do go down a bit too easily sometimes. Absolutely. Under pressure, they do look to win free kicks. Naturally, a referee is going to maybe make an opinion on that. But Saturday's ref seemed to genuinely prejudge that, every time they go down, it will be a dive. And, there were some blatant fouls. Mullin might well have scored in the first half. Lovely first touch. He's on the edge of the area. He's about to hit it, and the defender just grabs his shirt and pulls him over. It's a foul, and the ref doesn't give it. And it almost felt he prejudged it. It was like, if it's a foul, I won't give it. If it's a yellow card, I'll just give the foul. Because then Palmer turned Will Evans, who is a big, solid centre-back, but and we've exploited this in the past when he played for Chesterfield, incredibly slow. And Palmer did him. Will Evans knew he would never catch Palmer again. And so we just rugby tackled him, and the ref didn't book him. And you sort of think, come on. But Mullin the second half really ran the show. His movement was terrific. They couldn't deal with it. Lovely assist for the goal. It turned Lasanmi is a good centre-back inside out. Lovely ball across to the Red Baron. It was just absolutely tremendous. He was man of the match, far and away, even though there were a lot of good performances. Oh, by the way, pumpkin update, I'm on the second eyebrow. I'm quite pleased with the progress I've made.
But another individual performance here, Mullin was amazing. I think one that he always seems to go under the radar, Bill, is James Jones. Mm-hmm. I thought he had an excellent game on Saturday, and he's the type of player that doesn't really get noticed, but when he's not there, I really do think we miss James Jones.
Yeah, and I think the same could be said about Luke Young. They both do quite similar-ish jobs in some way. They're both high energy. They're maybe not got the complete quality on the ball that, say, Elliot Lee or Jordan Davis have, but they still provide a lot to the team. And you need players in this league who are willing to do that donkey work. I mean, Joe Clark was a player that was. I mean, he had the Joe Clark project named after him, but generally was fairly unfancied by a lot of fans. But we probably wouldn't have done as well in the 98-point season and the year that we got to the playoff final if it wasn't for Joe Clark helping out in midfield, doing that sort of role.
Probably explain the Joe Clark project, because it was. I enjoyed that.
Go on, Mark, you do it.
I'd rather one you two did, but I'm too busy poking someone's eye in.
Go on.
Well, no, it was just a fan group, wasn't it, really? Yeah. And they produced podcast, blog and things like that. And it was good.
JCB logo.
Yes, that was clever, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it was precisely because he seemed like such a nice guy, but was also an underrated player, if I remember rightly.
Do you think, right, and I don't know this sort of facts, do you think it started out as a sort of ironic, we've got all these great players and he's not so great, so we'll pick him, but then as time went on, probably we all saw more clearly his value? Do you know what I mean? It was a slightly ironic and then became not ironic because he proved his worth.
In some ways, yeah, but he did like a meet and greet, didn't he, with the fans?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Sense we went, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he come across as like a really nice guy, and I think everyone had really liked Joe Clark.
When the trust owned the club, every month or 2 months or whatever it was, when there was a members meeting, they used to have a player there for a Q&A, didn't they? Yeah. I mean, you couldn't do it now because the place would be absolutely swarmed, wouldn't it? But previously, it just used to be whoever was members of the Wrexham Supporters Trust could go. And he seemed like a cracking bloke who took a few slightly awkward questions and was really nice about how to deal with it, wasn't he? And that goes a long way in football, because a lot of people are very dismissive of fans and maybe fans that aren't as approachable as others.
When you hear all his teammates talk about Joe Clark, they usually say he's the most underrated out of everyone in the squad, which just says
which says a lot about him.
A lot about him, and he seems like a really top guy. Anyway, enough about Joe Clark.
back to James Jones.
James Jones.
It is a similar sort of thing, and there is that sort of trend with football teams over the years. A lot of fans didn't like Emil Heskey as a footballer, but a lot of the people who used to play with Emil Heskey would say he was a dream to play with, because he just did all of the dirty work for the rest of the team and allowed the other main striker to play. And I know that James Jones is a different sort of player, but it's a similar thing, isn't it?
So, Mark, for the layman then, someone who maybe is just getting into following Wrexham or football in general, really, what role does James Jones do?
He has 3 lungs. That's his main strength. I mean, I would say he is maybe not that great on the ball. His passing, when he tries to be ambitious, he doesn't always. Although he did play a lovely ball out to Ford for that incident where he crossed it in, was blatantly fouled for a penalty on Tuesday, and then McFadden's header hit the bar. But he can pass, but his real strength is that his stamina is outrageous. He can just keep going for 90 minutes. And at the end of the game, you see him sprinting and chasing things down as if he's fresh as a daisy. He's very good in terms of pressing and putting pressure on the ball. So from that central midfield position, he can step up and support the strikers and put pressure on and win the ball back. He's good without the ball. He makes tackles, wins the ball well. But there's also those little things that maybe people don't see quite as much or don't focus on quite as much. Things like, you watch, when we lose the ball, he's makes really good recovery runs to block off passes. So he'll make runs across. He spots where the danger is going to develop, and he reads things well and gets across so that he's in that right area to try and block. Even if it's just blocking so a player can't see the pass because Jones is in the middle, making that pass difficult. And also, if you look at him with Ford, they combine nicely. But so to be fair, Jones was doing this last season as well. He's really good at making those overlapping runs which take defenders away. There was which game with remember when was it 6-0 it was? Ford hit the post in the first half and he cut inside. And again, one of those things where how do you measure this? He didn't touch the ball, but he influenced that enormously because he made a terrific run around the outside of Ford, and that took a defender with him. And that meant Ford, instead of having two defenders to beat, had one defender to beat, and instead of trying to find Jones around the back, he's able to come inside, get past that defender and hit a shot which hits the post. That sort of tireless running off the ball. I struggle to think of a player who, to me, stands out so much I've seen for Wrexham in terms of just never stopping running. But he does remind me of somebody from when I was a little kid for a different reason, which the workhorse in that great late 70s team was Mel Sutton, who we bought from Cardiff, and he became our manager for one season. He was Arvin Griffiths' assistant. And he was, a real workhorse. And he used to get criticism from the fans. They'd moan about him. And all, as you're saying about Joe Clark, the manager, the players would all say, this is ridiculous. He's the most important player in the team because he covers the ground. He does two people's work. So quite similar in a way to James Jones. Maybe there are some attributes players have that a lot of people don't quite notice. But if you don't have those, your team cracks and collapses.
And it is him not playing in the Barnet game was foul, wasn't it? I don't think we concede 5 if he starts the game, personally.
And, everyone's quick to say, Elliot Lee, because what he does is so obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
To the fan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where when James Jones isn't playing, as you said, we can see 5 goals. And that's saying a lot, isn't it? It really is.
It is. Like you were saying about Mel Sutton, I think his running allows Young to concentrate that little bit more on defending, and when he's not there, Young is doing James Jones's job and his own job and gets pulled in different directions. What did you think of Elliot Lee playing in the Borehamwood game and the Halifax game?
It was a little bit more the 4-3. That's the 3 in midfield rather than what we did that didn't work against Barnet, where he's supporting the strikers and you got the double pivots, and it worked. I just think Lee is good. Obviously, he's great if you put him high up the pitch. He can play those midfield roles. And I think he did really well at Borehamwood doing that. I suppose the thing we lose compared to say Jordan Davis is that Lee is not just a sort of free spirit who doesn't do his work. Lee works. He will come back and he will track. But Davis is maybe just a bit better at that. He's played at wing back. He knows the system. He knows how we press. He knows, where players will be in the system better because he's been in it for more than a year. And so I don't think Lee's quite as effective as that. To be fair, that's not the reason we bought him either. But I was very encouraged at Borehamwood because in a difficult game that could bypass him, he did a good job in midfield. Ironically, using him in the same role on Tuesday night, actually, I didn't think he did that well. But that's just life. That's just every player's allowed to have a good game and a bad game. And I think Halifax were quite cute in that they recognised that maybe out wide we can pull teams around. And they really pressed hard in the first half. The amount of lack of space on the sides of the pitch, they're using the touchline as an extra man for the press, was really good by them, I thought. And that's a big part of why we struggled. And in an odd way, the worst thing they could have done was score so early on. Thank God the referee gave ridiculous penalties to them, because once they got tired and had to retreat and sit back a bit more, you started feeling, we're gonna do this now, because you can't sit in your box against a team with our firepower, and you're not going to get away with that very often.
No.
But when they were pressing, I thought they looked very good without the ball.
Well, should we jump on to the Halifax game then?
Yeah, may as well.
Yeah, so after this we'll talk about the Halifax game.
I'm Kerry Evans and you're listening to Dragonheart Radio Show.
Well, Halifax. that was a peculiar game. The owner was there, obviously. Mr. Rob McElhenney was there.
And there was a huge effigy of our other owner.
Yes, there was that blimp, wasn't there? That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you got yourself some footage, didn't you, before the game?
It was brilliant before the game. Rob Lainton was on the pitch. So was our physio, head of physio. And they were trying to hit the blimp. Now, trying in the... mine's gone blank. His name, the physio, the guy from Southampton.
Yeah.
He was trying. I'm not getting very close. Lainton he is a remarkable clean striker of a ball. And he only had 3 goes. The first one would have hit, but there were people at the bottom holding ropes, and they pulled it, so it missed. And he wasn't that happy with them. The second one, and remembering that it was above the height of the stands, the second one he hit from underneath it and put it over the blimp. That's pretty decent work, I would argue. And then the third one he nailed, and I just thought, this is great. So I was filming it up in the stands. It was quite funny because when he hit it, there were I didn't know who they were, but there were some photographers on the pitch, and he was shouting, "Did you get it? Did you get it?" And they hadn't. But this was before the ground had opened, so I shouted down, "I did." And I went down and showed him he's got it now. And he was very chuffed that somebody had filmed it. He loved it. I showed him it, and he was very, very happy, man.
He mentioned it after the game as well, didn't he?
Did he? I didn't see. Yeah.
He walked out the tunnel.
Oh, yeah,
we were
he
there. He was like, "Have you got that video?"
Yeah. But it's been passed to him, I believe, now. And I have put it onto the Wrexham Anorak article, which went out about an hour ago. Because, in that article, I like to look at the statistical facts. And one of them is that a Wrexham player has never hit a blimp before a football match before. I felt it needed to be pointed out. It was almost as obscure as the other fact that every substitute that has scored for Wrexham against Halifax came through our youth teams, which is absolutely pointless fact that you can do nothing with and is completely coincidence. And every Wrexham substitute who scores against Halifax at the racecourse was born in Wrexham or the outlying towns. But that means nothing. You both look so blank because, yeah, exactly. There is nothing you can do with that information. It's complete coincidence. But,
I want
but
to
it is also
digest it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like,
yeah, don't bring Leon as a sub against Halifax because he won't be able to score because he's not local.
Well, let's talk about the game. Unchanged from Borehamwood. I think we need to talk about the back three for a second, I think.
The mouth's out, just so you know. Only the nose to go, I'm doing so well here. And at that moment, producer Aaron comes in and sees that I have destroyed the studio.
It smells of pumpkin. God.
It smells of pumpkin, but I don't know why. I think it's one of these two.
Oh, wow.
We are I am setting the world record. I'm the first person ever, just to recap, dear listeners, to attempt to carve a pumpkin in capturing the face of the bloke at the National League who refused to let us stream games and give the rest of the league all the money. That's my aim, and I'm confident I'm going to do it because I've only got a nose to go now. And the nose is going to be any random shape. So I reckon I could do this in half a radio show, making it even more of a world record than it previously was. Are you excited, everybody?
Right.
This is it. This is what the town of Wrexham can do when it puts its mind to it.
This was not what I was expecting coming into
this
the Dragonheart
I
today.
was really not expecting this.
Yeah, well, expect the unexpected. When the Disney Corporation is involved, dreams can come true.
Right, we need to start talking about the football.
The what ball?
The pumpkin ball.
Pumpkin.
No, let's talk about
I think you
football.
turn into a pumpkin if you leave a ball, if I remember correctly.
Right, football. Mark, football.
Football, yes, Halifax.
Right.
Halifax had their game plan right at the start, and we were poor for 20 minutes, and it was a major issue. But, like I say, we have goal power, as the Spice Girls nearly used to say. And basically, 8 home games this season, 5 of them we've scored 3 goals in one of the halves. In one of them, we scored more than 3 goals in 2 halves.
Yeah.
That's goal power. And the fact of the matter is, once they got tired and had a lead to defend and they had to sit back a bit, it was like a coconut shy, wasn't it? They were in the box and we were just launching at them, and you sort of, that sense of anxiety kind of, even when it was 1-0, you thought, oh, once we get one, we should be okay.
Yeah.
And even though the 2 last goals came late, you sort of felt, yeah, this is all right. This is okay. We score goals. That's what we do.
I want to talk about Halifax in the first half, though, because they were playing some beautifully passing football,
Yeah,
weren't they?
right.
They're a very well-drilled team. I think, again, I know I said this, I sound like a parrot, but I think we're going to look at this at the end of the season thinking that's actually a really good 3 points at home, because I think Halifax will grow into the season, because I think they do have some good players. You know, their target man, Disareva, he's a decent player. I think they're really good, but I think there's a really good performance in the second half.
Giants, wasn't they?
Mm-hmm.
They were huge. Like, their 2 centre backs were bigger than Ollie Palmer, who's not a short man, is he?
Your favourite centre back name duo, wasn't it?
I feel confident, even though, despite my boyish looks, I've watched Wrexham football for a long time. I feel confident that we've never had a pair of centre-backs against us with such amazing names as Jesse Deborah and Festus Arthur. I just feel, it sounds like a sort of country and western duetting thing, doesn't it?
But they did well. They were winning everything, weren't they? I thought their centre halves had a fantastic game, in all fairness.
Especially set pieces, although I would also say that when it came to set pieces, I mean, the elephant in the room is the referee was very poor. He gave a soft penalty to them. I do not think it's a penalty. When you look at it from the angle where Disareva is running towards the camera, you can see how far he goes away from the ball to step into Young's path. I really think it's naive. There is some contact. I don't think anywhere near a foul penalty. But okay, if you're going to give that, you've got to then be giving decisions like that. And I know I'm really biased, but I think if you say that's the standard now for a penalty, we really, and I'm not joking, should have had 4 or 5 penalties, because the amount of shirt pulling, of blocking off, the foul on Ford when he crossed for McFadden, which is just, he just took him out. It was a scissors tackle in the box, and the ref, carry on, he's put the cross in. No, it's a foul in the penalty area. We'll have a penalty, thank you very much. And then also, Hayden, this is my favourite point of a game, which had a lot of wonderful bits to it. Hayden just couldn't get at the ball because he was constantly being blocked off and fouled. Now, don't get me wrong, you were constantly saying this in commentary, Chay, and I 100% agree with you. A team, don't blame the team, because if they can get away with it because the ref's not giving those fouls, they will keep doing it. And if I knew that the referee would be like that, I would say to a team, if you're facing Hayden, look, if you just try and defend him normally, we will let a goal into him, at least one, because he's phenomenally strong and he has a ludicrously good leap. And if he gets a run on you, there's just nothing you can do about it. So don't let him get there. Block him when he starts his run. There was one in the second half where Arthur basically rugby tackled him off the ball and just grabbed him, just threw him to the floor. It was ludicrous. And you think, well, surely Hayden has been saying to the ref all along, just watch what he's doing to me, ref. But he didn't, or if he did, he thought, well, that's allowed. We're not allowed to go near a player in the box, but that's allowed. But then, of course, that glorious thing I was alluding to was his last-minute goal, and well done, Neil, because I actually didn't spot her at the time, and I've only realised it afterwards. Hayden stayed on the halfway line. Whether he was just thinking, I'll stay back because we don't want to get caught on the break, or whether this was a deliberate idea, I don't know, but he stays on the halfway line. Arthur has to look around and think, Hayden's not here. Oh, what shall I do? And then Hayden sprints from the halfway line, arrives in the box, leaps, and frankly, looking at the camera's angles, the ball seems to be higher than the crossbar, and yet phenomenally, because he's got such a ludicrous leap, and he's been sprinting in for 40 yards, he gets above that ball and heads it downwards. It was a wonderful, wonderful goal, and so heroic that if you look at the highlights, he runs away to celebrate, and the first picture of the celebration is they cut to the crowd and there's a bloke waving his crutches in the air because the goal was so good that he made the lame walk. Now that's miraculous, isn't it? Bring some water to the next match and see if it becomes wine.
Let's talk about the back three for a second. because I think each one of them deserves to be praised for the last two performances, really. And I feel so sorry for saying this, but this is probably the best back three we could have. And I love Max Cleworth, don't get me wrong, I'm his biggest fan. But I do think with Tunnicliffe playing, we do look a little bit more just a little bit more stable in defence. Even though I don't think he offers that attacking, the attacking prowess that Max Cleworth presents. But Bill Tunnicliffe, he looked solid, didn't he?
He did. He looks quality, and I think it's a lot of people will call him for it. And I think, to be fair to Cleworth, he's probably due a rest. He's played a lot of men's football, and he's still quite young in a physical position. It's not like the old days. Being dropped isn't a damning indictment of your ability. It's actually more, do you know what? You need a little bit of time out of the team. Yeah. Go and refocus. Go and get some practice in. Fight your way back into the squad, and then there'll be an opportunity for him. And Tunnicliffe's had the opposite happen to him, and he's taken the opportunity with both hands, hasn't he? Looked fantastic yesterday. Yeah, really good. I'm really pleased. Like you say, he doesn't offer that attacking threat, but what he does allow is for Hayden almost to not feel guilty to attack, and Tozer and Tunnicliffe then become the back two of a back four that was a back five while Hayden's pressing forward. I think if in future Cleworth comes back into the side, I'd still be tempted to play Tunnicliffe in our games against more attacking opposition.
This could be a controversial opinion. You may disagree. I think we could play Cleworth in a midfield role eventually, especially as his skills develop. He's played holding midfield before. He's played holding midfield a couple of times last season.
Yeah, he had the fantastic game in the trophy.
I think if we have a midfield crisis, I think Cleworth could do a job in midfield.
Definitely could, but I don't care because I have now completed my pumpkin. The world record is achieved, and I have completed my pumpkin in the shape of the National League bloke who said we could not stream matches. So there you are, everybody. There he is, looking bewildered with his one tooth. There you are. He doesn't know what streaming is. He thinks it's something to do with going to the toilet. Look at that, eh? Look at that. Coming soon to a football club near you. Brigade A.
Fair play.
I am a record breaker. I'm very proud of myself. We can now have better sound quality because there won't be sounds of me hacking, and then little noises as the ball squeaks on the desk, and I won't be like muttering and audibly sweating. Yeah. So Cleworth. I think Cleworth is superb. I think it's good to give him a little break.
Yeah.
He's still involved. He's still on the bench yesterday. You're right. He's versatile. He can play the two roles. And it's an interesting matter of balance for me that the back three with Tunnicliffe, like you say, he is not going to go forwards as much. We do lose something, therefore, of our attacking fluency because Cleworth and McFadden, the way that they combine, is terrific. They got a wonderful understanding.
Yeah, I think that's really underrated, their relationship, actually, as well.
Absolutely. I think it's a real, for me, a high point of the way that we play, the way that they get forwards. They're both happy to go inside or outside, and they both seem to read each other brilliantly. And yet, actually, this works pretty well because McFadden, we think about the Barnet game, and McFadden and Cleworth got criticism because a lot of the trouble came down their side of the pitch. Yeah. Now, I'm not totally sure you should blame them because they are playing to the manager's instructions, and the manager is looking to be very attacking. But we did get exploited. If you put Tunnicliffe in, McFadden still goes forwards, and he played well on Tuesday, I thought. But he knows that there's a bloke sitting in behind who's not going to be up there with him, and they're going to get caught out, so he can attack with a bit more freedom. And also because you've got that solidity, Elliot Lee on the left side of midfield is able to pick up the baton and try and join in. Didn't work that well on Tuesday, but that extra solidity at the back. I'm not saying Cleworth's not a solid defender. He's an excellent defender. But the fact that Cleworth naturally is asked to get up the pitch means that, sometimes we're in demand at the back. Not his fault. But with Tunnicliffe not doing that, you have that solidity there, which allows Lee and McFadden to try and combine down the flank. So it's all about balance, and I think that balance worked well. Like I said, I think Halifax's closing down wasn't a problem for Lee, but in other games they won't close him down well, and he'll destroy teams.
And we got scope to change it round. We've got we've got an intense run of fixtures, haven't we, for the next few weeks, haven't we? We've got Tuesday, Saturday against tough sides. Maybe one day Tunnicliffe's getting a bit leggy, you put Cluworth in. Yeah. You can maybe take Hayden, maybe rest him in for the cup. I don't know. We've got that versatility centre halves wise, Bill, that we didn't really have last season, did we?
No, and it's handy to have that, because I think Tunnicliffe can play across the back three, can he? He is a right-sided player, but has played on the left for Crawley and has done well so far for us there. But he's that sort of pace that he could clearly play in the middle as well, and then Hayden could probably play in the middle if we needed him to. Yeah. It is embarrassment, Richard. We've got Harry Lennon. He's not even featuring in this conversation. He's an absolutely fantastic footballer.
He was one of the better players at the start of last season.
Who is a naturally left-sided player that can come in. Ryan Austin, if he's got anything like Max Cluworth, he can come in and do a job as well. So there's a lot of promise in that black three.
A lot of backup options as well. Tom O'Connor's played centre half,
and when we talked about Tom O'Connor previously for the first Blythe game, we were maybe slightly critical, or maybe didn't quite understand what his role was, but he didn't make many mistakes, so if he needs to come in and play there, it's not a problem, is it?
Yeah, and I could even see McFadden covering the centre half role as well. So we've got so many
embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, in that department. But let's talk about Hayden Tozer, Mark, because they've been brilliant. And Hayden, how many goals he scored this evening? I'm losing count.
It's 7, isn't it? Or is it 8? I think it's 8. 7 in the league, 1 in the cup.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's madness.
I'd seen a stat on Twitter earlier, and apologies, I can't credit who'd put it. He's scored 7 in 15, which is, I think, equal or one behind the 2018-19 season, and not that far off the 2021 season, and it's only October, and he's a centre-back. Wow.
Remember, was it 3 seasons ago, we had the second season in a row where our top scorer got 5 or 6.
Right, so it'll probably be, that's probably the season that I'm thinking of.
Hayden's performances, and with his age, though, terrify me that a big club's going to come into him at some point.
But we have money. And so as long as we keep him happy, we've got the potential to rise up the divisions. We have the money if he wants a contract extension and a bit of an improved terms. But maybe most importantly, we don't have to sell him. If somebody wants him, we can turn around and say, okay, $750,000.
We are in that unique position.
I'd say more.
Yeah, we're in that unique position where if we do sell him, it's going to be for a ridiculous amount of money, isn't it? But I do look at someone like Hayden as pretty irreplaceable if he was
it is a difficult one. It's that classic case, I think, of when you've got a good player, if they go, you can replace someone who is absolutely adequate and more than adequate for this division, but just hasn't got that X factor that he's got.
He was skinning players yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was using back heels. He was looking like a forward player at times. He's so... his physical attributes are so a Premier League level. He obviously keeps himself at tip-top condition. He's fast, he's strong, he can jump high. But on the ball as well, Mark, he's just a joy to watch at times, isn't he?
He played quite a lot as a wing-back for Starbridge, and you can sort of see that, or you can see that it's all about power and explosion down the wing rather than trying to trick his way past anybody, but he does do that very well, doesn't he? He's an exciting player to watch. I just want to argue back against you guys and say, don't get me wrong, Hayden's great, and I don't want to lose him. But if we lose him, teams lose good players. Doesn't necessarily have to suffer. Do you reckon that we couldn't get promoted with a back three of Tunnicliffe, Tozer and Cluworth?
No, we absolutely could.
Absolutely could.
So in that case, he's not. He is replaceable. I don't want to replace him. I think he's utterly fantastic. I adore Aaron Hayden. I'm just saying, if we had to sell him, we'd have the money to bring in a really good player, and we already have a good centre back. So that's a great position that we're in.
I do think out of the back three, I think he's the most valuable. Personally.
Without a doubt. in terms of his current ability, I think Cleworth has got the potential, but he's not the most valuable at the moment because he needs to go another season or two living up to that potential.
Yeah.
Toes is just that little bit older that he's maybe, I don't want to say that it sounds harsh, but he's maybe more on the other side of when money starts being thrown around at players, especially in that position.
Yeah.
But also, do you know what I thought? I thought Tozer played really well yesterday.
And at
really
Borehamwood as well. I thought both he and Hayden outstanding. And Tunnicliffe, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like you said, the three of them in both games, outstanding.
And that volley, if he meant it for the first goal...
Was it deflection?
I think, sadly, I really couldn't see it at the time.
Because
but
it looked like a world-class strike from where
I
we were.
think the bloke who... it's not totally clear, and I've looked at all the different angles, but I think the bloke who jumped at it, I think got a little nick on it. It's a shame, because if he didn't, that is a world-class goal. Hitting outside the foot, curling it, and top corner.
I've looked at a fan cam, and you can see that it does
fair enough.
But it doesn't matter, it's gone in.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And the crazy thing about yesterday is, and Saturday as well, is the goals are coming from the centre halves, and that's really important in a strong side, isn't it?
I remember Dennis Smith talking about that, saying that he expected his centre backs to all chip in 5 goals a season. Well, you'd love this team, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
This team, no problem with that,
Yeah.
And to be fair, Cleworth will bang some shots in from distance at trouble teams and has a habit of getting into really good positions, set pieces, and then not actually finishing them. But that'll come in time.
Been a bit unlucky, isn't he? And I'm sure Tunnicliffe, once he's used to our setup and the system, has got the ability to score goals as well.
He's a big lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, talk about Dennis Smith. I heard him on the Fearless and Devotion podcast talk about
whatever that is.
This current side, and he says, he said basically that they're letting in too many silly goals. That's what he was saying. He said he wouldn't have stood for it.
I think that's a pretty fair comment, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's Dennis Smith, isn't it? He's a god. He can say what he wants, can't he?
He certainly can, yeah.
Yeah, and he can back
Smith,
it up.
he says what he wants.
I also after listening to that podcast, I didn't realise how good of a player he was as well.
Yeah. He was famous for getting broken bones.
Yeah.
And I always remember when I was a little kid, there was a picture of him in Shoot. And Shoot was a magazine, everybody. I had a photo of him on a full page. And then I had all his broken bones annotated, or arrows pointing, and he had about 30 broken. It wasn't that he was injury prone per se. It was that he would throw his body in the way of anything, and if it meant getting kicked in the leg and kicked in the arm, kicked in the face, kicked in the anything, he'd just do it. He was a real sort of tough guy centre back.
Yeah, for that generation as well, to be a
But yeah, exactly. He's been identified as that when you're up against Ron Chopper Harris and Tommy the Anfield Iron Smith.
Where a 2-footed tackle was fine.
Exactly.
Expected, if anything.
Yeah.
It's striking. I bet it's on YouTube. Have a look. There's a very famous game from the late 80s when Liverpool draw 4-4 at Everton and Dalglish resigns as manager after the game. It's a fabulous game of football. Probably shouldn't have told you to score. That spoiled everything. I lost £1 in a sweepstake on it because I was 15 seconds off the time of the first goal. We each had a minute and put £1 in, and in the bar, and my minute, it was Mike Newell. Mike Newell, ex-Wrexham assistant manager, briefly, was being treated for the entire minute. So the ball wasn't in play for my minute. I was not happy. And then Everton took the free kick 15 seconds into the next minute from what Newell was fouled for and scored. And I was like, what? But anyway, if you look at that game, the tackling in it.
Yeah.
And the referee's just, nobody's asking for a foul. And I don't mean like, everybody was a saint then. But in those days, in Britain certainly, you could kick a guy. It was like Anthony Taylor was refereeing.
But yeah. but yeah, that's the evolution of football. I'm sure in future episodes we'll talk about that more, really, because it's really interesting how football's changing. You can't fly into people like you can now because the players are so much faster, stronger, and fitter. It's a completely different game.
The turning point, I said, putting his dull hat on, was Marco van Basten, the brilliant Dutch centre forward, who was getting hit so many times from behind that he retired when he was 28 because his Achilles was just absolutely wrecked, and also that he had experimental surgery on one of them, which did not go well. And so he retired in his 20s. I mean, Marco van Basten was the ultimate centre forward. He was mobile. He could do everything. He was a wonderful player, but you didn't get the full value out of him. Maybe his best years of his career he didn't get, and that was why they in the '94 World Cup said any tackle from behind was a red card. And of course, people don't like it, but why shouldn't you protect skillful players? Surely that's let skillful players be skillful. Isn't that your first priority in football?
The money in football as well now, which is it. You know, it's
well, they're assets. Players are assets, aren't they?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
you know, they're as much a figure on a spreadsheet as they are a star on the pitch, aren't they? In a lot of ways, you know, they've got to be able to provide numbers as much as anything. And if they're injured and they can't play, then those numbers, be it in terms of interaction or actual shirt sales or whatever, just go down, don't they? And you know, there are some aspects of I don't disagree with protect star players at all, but there's elements of the game that have gone too lenient in some aspects because of that, I feel. Maybe not at our level with our referees, but...
Well, that's another discussion.
Yeah, another discussion for another day.
Yeah, back to the game. We've talked about the back three. We'll talk about other performances, and maybe not so much a positive performance was Elliot Lee, really, Mark. First half, he struggled a little bit, didn't he, I think?
He did, but the fact that he lasted the 88th minute showed that although he wasn't able to have that influence in terms of his passing, because like I've said before, Halifax put a lot of pressure on, surrounded him, and he just couldn't hit his targets, and that's unlike him. He did do a good shift, and he did work hard in that midfield role, which in some ways is what people have misgivings about with him. So fair play to him, because he earned his right to stay on the pitch because he was putting in the hard yards. So although, things didn't work out for him, in some ways it was still a progression that he could fit into that system.
So you'd say that it was more Halifax doing a number on him rather than him having a bad game?
I mean, you know, it's hard to tell where the line is, but I would certainly say whenever he was getting the ball in the first half, Halifax were closing in on him massively, weren't they? Yeah. He didn't have his best game, absolutely not. But again, you know, opposing tactics will influence that, and I think they were deliberately looking to close him down.
Yeah, and it just goes to show the quality on our bench that we can bring Jordan Davis on to completely change the game. Mm-hmm. Well, and look fantastic, and the argument, and I've said it before on Dragonheart, it's like, oh, Leo Davis isn't playing well, swap him, or now Davis has had a good start and Lee didn't play quite as well, let's swap again, but I don't care who starts as long as we win. Yes. And when you've got either of those who are able to come off the bench to replace each other, you win games.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a controversial topic in some regards, is the formation. We went to a back four, and Mark, we won the game. What's your analysis of the back four versus back three debate?
Firstly, that people should calm down a little bit and appreciate that, you know, probably football managers would look at formations more as just a rough idea to hang something on, and wouldn't feel tied to it. So when you hear people saying, oh, we're defensive because we play five at the back, well, we don't play five at the back. There's three centre-backs and two wingers, really. And so, you know, we shouldn't get too hung up with that. I mean, there were points in the game where Tozer and Hayden were trying to get forward even though they were playing in a back four, and the full-backs were still right out of the pitch. So I wouldn't get too hung up about shapes in that sense and numbers in different areas of the pitch. I wouldn't switch permanently to the formation that we switch to when we make the substitutions for a number of reasons. One of which is that it's a very attacking formation, and to start a game like that, you better get on top of the opponents, because you will allow opportunities for teams to get at you, because that front three is a front three. Lee is playing up with the strikers. And the other thing is that, you know, that old adage, isn't it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We keep battering teams when we start with three at the back. You know, that 6-0 was quite fun, I thought. We played it with three at the back. Don't ignore the fact that we're getting some fantastic results and brilliant performances playing the system that Parkinson likes, both this season and last season. All that wonderful run that we had last season, three at the back.
I don't get the obsession about it personally, because we're winning all the time.
Yeah.
And let's be fair, we do change it, but you've got to change. You've got to be fluid in football from time to time, haven't you, Bill? You've got to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your tactics, and I think that's more of a credit to Parkinson.
Yeah.
Really, not a credit. It's not a credit. It's not nothing. It's not a bash on the formation for me. It's a credit to see Phil Parkinson seeing that there's an issue.
Yeah.
Then change it up.
And he does it quite early as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, just
No, you 100%. I think it's a manager that's got money at Wrexham is always going to be criticised, and to some degree, there's nothing wrong with that. I heard people talking in the stands on the way out, like, oh, Phil Parkinson needs to sort it out. Well, he did sort it out, and we won 3-1.
Yeah.
So I mean, just because he started with a formation and then changed it doesn't mean that his performance is then bad. His performance is good because we had problems and then he mixed it up. I mean, I don't know really what people expect to happen. If a manager can change things around the 60th, 70th minute and get 3 goals out of a team, surely that's that. You're not quite saying tactical genius, but you're thinking, fair play. You've seen what the problems were. You've changed it effectively, and we've won.
Yeah. He has 2 go-to formations that the players clearly know well, and that's an important thing as well. If it's not bedded, and you can't just, it's not Football Manager. Although to be fair, Football Manager's not gone that way now. That's gone away from it as well. Yeah. You can't just say, oh, I'll just put this lad, or just put 4 of them up there. You can't just do that. It doesn't work, and the players aren't familiar with it. They get confused. So firstly, you can't do that, and secondly, he's got these 2 shapes. They work, and they're well grooved, and quite frankly, they are varied, and he knows he can hit the button to reset if he needs to change things, create space in different areas and cause threat from different areas. Great. He's got 2 things that work.
Yeah. And that just shows the versatility that we have. And I don't think... I do think fans need to calm down, because I think sometimes look, when we play 4 at the back, we win.
But that only works because we've rope-a-doped them for the entire game with 5 at the back and allow them to get tired by attacking us, and then the pressure that we bring with
it didn't work against Notts County.
It didn't, no.
And it didn't work at times last season when we played Marine and things like that. It didn't look very good at all. So, I don't get me wrong, I'm not against experimenting against other sides, but I don't see anything broken with we're second in the table. We're
3 points behind the leaders in October. Yeah,
points behind the leaders.
All the good teams have got to come to us.
Yeah.
So good luck to them.
Notts County, are they going to keep it up? They're looking good at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's on to Altrincham on Saturday at home. Tough match, isn't it, Mark? They seem to hit a bit of form recently, haven't they?
Yeah, so we'll have to put them back in their place, won't we, Chay?
Yeah, exactly.
But your station, you're from Cheshire, for goodness sake. This is very much a show for this community. No, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, they're decent. They got some nice players, and it's their first season as professionals as well, which is interesting to see how they bed down in that. But ultimately, we should be looking to win it.
Yeah. I mean, we should be looking to win every game this season, shouldn't we? Even against the top teams. I think we're always maybe sort of considered as a little bit happy clapperish, but for international fans, that's the people who just really love the football, regardless of whether it's good or bad. But with the budget we've got, we should be beating every team.
100%. And this is pretty much the end of the podcast radio show. Please, any sort of suggestions of topics you'd like us to talk about, please DM me, Mark, or Bill.
Forgetting his brother's name.
Or Bill, if you want.
Our National League board member, who I've decided is called Orville.
Hit us up on Twitter, If you look at all the cracking things that our amazing media team are producing on the website and what have you, but suggestions, please, Reddit, all that. Get in touch with us if you want to hear things.
We loved doing the rivalry section, didn't we?
Yeah,
it was fun, that.
We enjoyed the rivalry section, so anything. One thing I think we're going to be talking about next week that I'd really love to talk about is the comparison of this side and the 98-point season side. We'll get the fan suggestions on that. And
Orville likes that.
Yes, the pumpkin likes that. So, please get in touch with us, whatever you want to do. But this has been Dragonheart.